Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me as we create our very own API. We use in the Joomla framework, and in this lesson, we're going to set up a database using MySQL. So we'll be looking to also create our tables, and that will be used to store all of our data. Once we've set up that, we will connect our database to the PHP API using the JSON config file. Alright, so our database name will be called local.dgdevcloud, and the tables, we're going to have three tables: dev1 DDC user, dev1 DDC user keys, and dev1 DDC posts. So at the bottom I have two resources which I think would be very useful for you. The first is the MySQL Workbench. You can download this, it's a free download. Very easy tool to get you using MySQL. You could also use MySQL using a PHP MyAdmin web page, so you could access it via browser, but there's also a standalone tool which you can install on your PC and connect to your databases from there. If you need to learn more about using the MySQL Workbench, MySQL have their very own YouTube video, so please check that out as well. Let's get to it. So if we go into our MySQL database, so I've already set up my connection using it to my local PC, and what we'll be doing is we'll be creating our database first off. So here we can just go to this plus sign for a new database. We will call it local DG dev cloud, and here we'll just use standard UTF-8 default collection, and if we go apply, it will then create the schema of this database with the default character set. So once that's set, we can now see that we have this local DGDev cloud. So I'll just double click on it, it'll get in bold, so I know this is my active database. We can now go ahead and create our tables. So I have copied the table queries beforehand, so we can just go through them quickly. Our first table is dev1 DDC users, so this will hold all the basic user information like first name, last name, the username, email, password, etc. The next table will be dev1 DDC user keys, and this would be used for our token. We could also have a time variable, so if we would like to have our token expire after a limited time, we could set up a time variable. So if you'd like to see how that works, please leave comments below and I'll be happy to show you. And the final table which we will be creating is dev1 DDC posts, and this will be used for all of our messaging. Here we would have the main ID, we could have a category, we could also have a link to the parent post, so if someone wants to reply to a specific post, so the main ID would be here and then the user could reply to that, so we could have a chaining effect. And once again, who created it and when it was created. So once we've created these queries, you'll be able to find it on my website at dgdevcloud.co.uk. Right, so once we have those queries written up, we can just go ahead and run the query, and here we can see it's created the three tables. Now that this is all created, we can jump into our API and we can set up the API to talk directly to the database. So let's go into Visual Studio, and we would go from app into our config folder, and then here is the config.json folder. So this is where we would create our database. So the driver that we use is MySQL. The host name is localhost. Our username, this is on our local machine. So on a live site, it won't be the same details. Please ensure that you set yours up to be secure. And the database that we have created was DGDevCloud. So for our prefix, we gave it dev1, and that is our database connected. So what we can do in the next tutorial, we will just insert a basic line of text into one of the tables, so the user table for instance, and we would go through that process of just displaying some basic information to ensure that number one, our database is running, and number two, our API is looking to our database and pulling information from it. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please, if there's any comments, feedback that you have for me, things that you would like to see in the future, let me know below. And in the next tutorial, we'll be going through some code in terms of creating the profile information and displaying some data. Hope to see you guys soon.